talking about the show this afternoon, Labour is throwing it down heavily today. Since the start of today, Monday, a lot of things has been going on regarding Labour strike. Of course, the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress, TUC, declared a nationwide strike over a proposed new minimum wage. TUC's president, Festus Osifo, was quite vocal right during the meeting, and he announced the strike during a joint news conference with the NLC leader in Abuja last week, Friday. The strike commenced today, Monday, the 3rd of June. Now, we know that there's been a meeting between Labour and the federal government, even up until yesterday. The Senate President and also Speaker of the House of Representatives, were all over the place trying to avert today's strike, but then it looks like Labour is hell-bent on its decision regarding new minimum wage for Nigerian workers. All right, first off, to kickstart the show, let's go listen to the leadership of the Trade Union Congress and the Nigeria Labour Congress on this. We'll come back very quickly. Stay with us.
Industrial action, because there are conditions precedent given to us by our neck. Would have been much more happier if this evening the issues of we have a great understanding that by tomorrow morning we will sign off issues bordering on the minimum wage. Because before we, at the last meeting, we were very, very close to signing off. I mean, close in the sense that if the figures were right, it's just to prepare a report and sign. So it's not something that is that lengthy anymore. But we have listened to them. We would take all their plea to our organs, and we would have an organs meeting taking what they have promised and the pleas that they have made to our organs. For now, we don't have the powers to call off the industrial action, so the industrial action will continue while we would have a conversation with our respective organs as soon as possible to lay bare what they have put forward and what they have proposed. Thank you. Naira per kilowatt. So, gentlemen of the press, we are calling on government to be much more responsive to the plight of the Nigerian workers. We are calling on them that the hardship that we are currently facing is as a result of the policies that we brought about by this government that we felt were not well thought out. And also, what has fed into this that we all know is quite obvious. The removal of fuel subsidy, the flotation of Naira, and the increment of electricity price hike. So, gentlemen of the press, if you could remember, we had a meeting, a National Executive Council meeting of the NLC as well as the TUC, where we were further charged that the leadership should take charge and will take all actions to call government to order at the end of the expiration of the ultimatum. Today is 31st of May 2024, and this night the ultimatum expires. So, gentlemen of the press, we are hereby declaring the commencement of a nationwide industrial action, a nationwide strike, effective from Monday, June 3rd, 2024. And this strike shall be indefinite. And this strike shall be on until we have a new national minimum wage, until government is serious and also the tariff increment in electricity is reversed. We are united on this. We believe that this is the way forward. We believe this is the time, as we have done over the years, to consistently stand with the working class of Nigeria, because they have been battered and they have been downtrodden the way it has been from May 29th till date. So, comrades, gentlemen of the press.
All right, that's the president of the Trade Union Congress, all right, being very, very assertive on this decision to go on strike by labor. Are, I don't even want to ask you how easy it was getting down here.
Or is there a need for a strike?
Because on the roads is a mess. When I was coming to work, places were blocked and people on the streets regarding this whole strike. But then on the entire labor strike, all right, what really are your thoughts on strike?
Thank you very much. As much as the demand by labor for over 400,000 naira as the minimum wage, it's not, it's not realistic. 30,000, 60,000, which government was proposing, as far as I'm concerned, will not help anybody. Why am I saying this? Labor opened their eyes and witnessed the purchase of vehicles, $160,000 for assembly members. They were here when money was 90 billion was voted to subsidize Hajj. And we can go on and on. You and I know the effect. It's everywhere. It affects everybody. I have not tasted mango since the new season emerged.
Mangoes?
Why? One small mango like this is 300 naira. And I'm like, what will it do for me? The other day, my driver wanted to eat bread and ewa, which used to be the commonest food, so to say. Before, with only bread, 100 naira, beans, maybe 50. You will even buy meat. It will be done. But that day, just bought bread, 300, which was very small like this. Beans, 500, and of course, water, 200. That was 1,000 naira gone. Assuming I pay him 60K, how will he go? Because he has spent only a fraction of his money. He has not taken lunch and dinner. He has a wife and 2 children. How will they go? Things have been dislocated. It would have been different if, while we are being told to tighten our belt, the people at the helm of affairs too are tightening their belt. But for all that we can see, they are living large. And it's not acceptable to anybody. This is not politics. Go to the streets, do a voice populi, ask people, a voice poll, ask people, how are you faring? They will not only be bitter, they will be cursing. That's how bad it is. As I said, labor may not achieve the desired sum, but government also need to come down from the high horse, begin to reduce the cost of governance, and let it be real that we are in this together. In a home, if you are the husband, you can't be living life, spraying musicians on the street and telling your wife and children to manage gari and sugar. No, it doesn't work like that. We're talking about our commonwealth, our patrimony. All the wealth of Nigeria belongs to all of us. Be you president, council chairman, or whatever, you are just first among equal. You are there at our expense. You are there to work for us, to serve us. But when your service to us is now becoming a disservice, this is what you get.
Yeah, but then when you talk about our collective patrimony, I get that. But that has been denied to the majority of Nigerians for years and years and years, administration after administration after administration. How will this strike by labor on minimum wage now begin, to correct?
A new life.
Yes, to correct all of that.
You see, the problem started from somewhere. I grew up knowing people like Alhaji Wahab Goodluck as labor leader, Azan Sumonu as labor leader. They were forthright when they had reasons to bring forth a negotiation, and they failed, and the call for a strike is total. But later, traders got into labor unionism. What do I mean? They will raise the mood, the tempo, and let us believe that there's going to be a strike over whatever. A night of the strike, they will be called in, they will be sorted out, and then they will go and announce there's no strike. It's been like that. Each time people do those things, what they do is to undercut unionism, to undercut the rights of labor. And it will always backfire. Like Riley said, from admin to admin, it has been carried on and carried over. That's why we got to where we are. It's untenable how the minimum wage will be 30,000 naira, and somebody who's also a public service will be driving a Jeep of $160,000. It's unheard of. I mean, it bears common sense. These are the things that people look at and they feel cheated, they feel alienated, they feel cut off, and at the end of the day, they are frustrated. So if we cannot, I mean, perhaps this offers us a chance to address this frontally once and for all, so that labor will be positioned as may be appropriate. Unfortunately, and very unfortunately too, this time around, the organized private sector will also carry the brunt. Why am I saying so? The cost of keeping companies going now has gone up. There's an hospital in the east, what's the name of it? Save a Soul. The man says he now pays 25 million naira per month on electricity. How do you expect that man to match up salaries? There's a limit to how much they can charge patients anyway. And these are the problems that the lack of quality and political leadership over the years has brought upon Nigeria. There was, I saw somebody did a list of what he wanted to buy with 1 naira in 1987. With 1 naira, including things for soup, he said they will still give it back.
Change, and there will be change.
And there was still change. You want to ask yourself, can you play that game? As a copper in 84, 85 in Ado-Ekiti, I bought a Beetle, 80 naira from my 200 naira monthly allowance and other roles like lessons that I did. Is it possible now? I drove that car from Ado-Ekiti to Abeokuta and nothing happened. So I didn't buy a scrap. But go out there and price Toyota Corolla of 20 years now. You'll be shocked the price they will give you. So life has become so meaningless and worthless simply because our currency no longer has strength and capacity. So apart from wage issue, when it is resolved, we have to now go back to how we will industrialize. Because that is the basis of any nation's wealth. When you are industrialized, you produce, you export, exactly. You create jobs locally. So outside of that, we are joking. As they say on social media, they play. We are playing.
Thank you, Are. All right, so, you know, for the longest of time, Labour has sort of lost.
They lost traction, they lost focus.
People don't trust them.
I told you, I said when traders join Labour now.
But this is the one strike where, you know, from different quarters, everybody is,
including ASU.
Yes, united and actually saying, yes, there's reason for this industrial action and all of that. But then the federal government seems to disagree with this because the federal government has declared labor strike as premature and illegal. The Minister of Justice and the Attorney General of the Federation, Prince Lateef Fagbemi, SAN, has come out to rebuke organized labor for calling for industrial action over the new national minimum wage debacle. Pointing out the premature nature of the strike, the AGF noted that negotiations between the federal government and other stakeholders on determining a new national minimum wage had yet to reach a conclusive end. He emphasized the importance of factoring in the interests and capacities of employers, including those in the private sector, in setting a new minimum wage that benefits the working population. He also went on to reference sections 41 subsection 1 and 42 subsection 1 of the Trade Disputes Act 2004 as amended, which mandates both NLC and TUC to issue mandatory strike notices of at least 15 days, concluding that failure of the labor unions to comply with these provisions renders their strike action illegitimate. All right, so he talked about the capacity and the capabilities of not just the federal government now, but also private sector. The private, So let's talk about that for a bit, because as it is now, we all know that economy is not at its best. It's not performing optimally at the moment and all of that, which also affects private sector, if I have to say, even the most.
I said it earlier.
Businesses are not thriving and not booming. They are not even breaking even, you know, as it is. So how would you expect someone who's running a business who's not making money to actually effect a new minimum wage? Do you get what I'm trying to say? Also, the federal government is always saying the nation is broke. There's no money. All right. So where is this money to pay salaries? New minimum wage, where is it going to come from? Let's not forget that about 22 states out of the 36
they still cannot
are
pay
falling short of the old, exactly, the old minimum wage. So how is all of this actually going to happen?
At the end of the day, what we're seeing is the consequence of bad governance over the years. I'll give you a typical example. Each time we've had the cost of petrol being increased, what are the reasons? There will be money to do infrastructures, money to build schools, hospitals, to build roads, and then availability. Even today, at 600, 650, 700, people are still on the queue. I had to trek down here because my car had no fuel. Now, I represent the populace who are victims of bad governance over the years. And we cannot, the people are not responsible for the bad economy. Let's get that very clear. And governance is a continuum. So if the previous governments have done very well, we'll be clapping for the present government. So if they have not done well, whatever strategy, whatever planning they may be doing, so long as it is not reflecting in the capacity of my brother in Abakaliki to spend, or my friend in Abeokuta, or the one in Maduguri, they have not done anything. Someone said it's a thankless job, but they begged us to vote for them. They promised us heaven and earth. Are we getting it? No, we are not. Unfortunately, like I told you earlier on, the OPS is an unlucky ally in all of this, because they are responsible also for keeping. When I say ally, I mean victimized ally. Oh, okay. In the sense that they are heavily taxed, they pay higher rates, and some of them pay what I call multiple taxations as well on other fronts. Yet they are still expected to keep above water. I no longer have a physical office. I had to shut down because I no longer pay my staff as I went due. Fine, I'm a Christian, but the Quran taught me that when you give anybody any engagement, before his sweat dries up, you must pay that person. Because I know that the way we are going, we won't be able to pay. I sat them down, let's end this journey here. If we have a job, we need you, we will call you in. We negotiate, we get it done, you are paid, and then you can go. Otherwise, one day, you will just call me, and I will tell you I'm in a Gobi after serious beating and battering by my staff. A lot of MDs and CEOs, they are suffering from hypertension. Why? They have become weeping managers. Management has become more like a migraine than a pleasure. When you, I mean, there are some FMCG companies, you see their MDs, before they were appointed, they had all black hair. Today, they carry gray hair. Fine, I'm not a young boy, but I shouldn't be carrying this kind of gray hair. It is the economic stress of Nigeria that brought me. I've been stressed. Yeah, you know. Wow. My mother at 79 had not a grain of single gray hair on her head. Look at me, all gray. You know, so we need to really bring it down. Let the government stop grandstanding. Let them come down. If the labor sees them reducing the pesticides and the revenue of the appointees or elected people, perhaps there can be a truce. But some set cannot be hungry while other side are living large. It will not take us far. And you see, because the impact of the bleeding economy affects everybody. That's why for the first time in a long time, there's a massive cooperation and support for this strike. When I heard that ASUU has joined, I said, yes, it don't start. And you know, since yesterday, there's been no power anywhere because they shut down the national grid. It is that bad.
It's that bad. really also what is so bad is that travelers today have been left stranded at all entry points into the domestic terminal of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport. That particular airport is currently inaccessible. The entry points to the airport were blocked due to the industrial action by the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress. As a result, all flight operations from the airport have all been suspended. It's a whole lot. Also, we hear that blackout as TCN workers shut down the national grid as well over strike. Nigerian Union of Electricity Employees, primarily workers at the Transmission Company of Nigeria, reportedly deliberately shut down the grid. Some newspapers are carrying the report that the grid went down between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. That's actually early this morning. Right. Initially, the grid dropped to about 2,805 megawatts at 1 a.m., then plummeted to approximately, I beg your pardon, about 1,000 megawatts by 2 a.m. and further to about 28 megawatts by 3 a.m. before finally reaching 0 megawatts by 4 a.m. this morning. All right. So in most parts of the country right now, especially in Lagos, I know there's no light literally everywhere. Okay, so no, yes, they took my own light at about 3 a.m. as well till I left home. So I mean, a lot of more unions are joining in. Just before we came on air, we hear that ASU, that's the Association of Staff Union of Universities, they themselves too have joined in this strike. Okay, so a lot of workers, government workers are home, public schools, students have been turned back to go back home because the NLC strike is in full swing. All right, so getting to work today, a lot of people were trekking because there were not enough buses on the road, as you would expect. Also, there's some blockages here and there, all right, where there's some slight actions by members of the labor union. All right, it's still peaceful up until this point. All right, it's just an industrial action. We don't expect to see any kind of violence, really.
There's no protest.
Yeah, no protest, really. It's an industrial action. So what that means is that you down tools,
you stay away.
You stay away from work up until the issues are resolved. We hope the federal government will step in as quickly as they passed the bill for the new national anthem. It took less than 3 days. Can we have that kind of speed, you know, in addressing this issue as well?
Unimportant and irrelevant as it is, at the speed of light, the bill was brought in, discussed from one to another reading, and before you know, it was passed.
And assented to.
You know, before you can say Jack Robinson.
Well, learning the new
and then now become the new anthem. So every other bill, we will expect them to follow.
To expedite action on them.
Otherwise, we will have to query the urgency and why that one enjoyed such speedy activation. We want to know. So they shouldn't wait for any bill passing. They should make a pronouncement, executive order, maybe, so that labor can go back to work. I mean, even when they were working, we were still complaining that we're not where we should be economically. When they now down tools, let it not happen that the OPS will join them. If they should join the strike, then we will have brought the economy to level 0.
Thank you, Are. All right, I did mention earlier that some travelers are stranded at the airport. There are visuals online, you know, detailing that part of the activities resulting from the strike. Let's go take a quick look at that. And when we come back, we'll talk a bit more, Are, on this 494,000 naira, which is the new proposal by the NLC, bringing it down from 615,000 naira. How feasible really is it in the face of current realities in Nigeria? Let's take a look at that video. We'll come back very quickly.
normal Monday morning, and you can see within the terminal building, which are just small goods to get into it. No activity is happening here. These are all the counters, checking in counters. They are not here. You can see one of the fan upset chasing people out. Mr. Ads, you can see him chasing people out, shouting, telling that lady to go out, that nobody should be found inside. We're only opportune to come inside this morning since we resumed around 5:35. Now they are here. You can see staffs moving around. All the counters empty, and then passengers are outside, and some are already returning back home because they feel that nothing will happen today. All right, thanks, Charles. I'm done from this end.
Still on the strike, Are, let's talk about this new proposed demand, yes, by the NLC, 494,000 naira, and that's bringing it down from the initial 615,000 naira. And let's juxtapose that with the 60,000 naira as proposed by the federal government. First off, the federal government says they can't pay so much in terms of the minimum wage. Let's take away all the extravagance that we are very quick to point out, you know, in governance, right, which is one of the reasons why Labour is putting its foot down, okay, right, and saying you can't be doing all of that and be telling us no more. But then let's just shift that to one side and look at the country.
How realistic?
How realistic, really, is 494,000 as Nigeria's new minimum wage?
Now, if we have to pay 494, let's just say half a million naira now, by the multiply by the number of the workforce, the entire national budget is less than what you will get. It's a pity I didn't put the figure in my head, but yesterday we worked around it. So it is not realistic. Number two, 494,000 naira as minimum wage. It is not doable, because as it is, we are suffering hyperinflation, which gave birth to hyperfoodflation. There are two different things. By the time you are, the traders, they are waiting. By the time you now say you are paying for, the inflation will go out through the roof. It will be unmanageable. The economy will collapse completely. Nothing will be doable. So that, as far as I'm concerned, is not realistic. But then, can we sit here and determine what is living wage? We can't. Because the parameters those people applied, you can hardly fault them. Okay? And they have their eyes on what elected and appointed civil, workers, or call them officials, are earning. Can you say they are wrong? No. The people we're talking about, we attended the same primary secondary school university. We all are eminently qualified, while unfortunately some are not as qualified as the people on the labor side. But because they were elected into power, you can't fault them. So I will still implore Labour to go back to the drawing table and look at what is possible, what is realistic, what will not crash our economy. Nigeria has to stand. Nigeria has to have an economy before Labour can be paid, before they can even be engaged. Let's not have the okay, we pay for 94 and sack 3/4 the Labour for.
So are you saying Labour should accept federal government 60,000
is on the low side? Okay. Considering the rate of inflation and then the weak naira that we are contending with.
So how much would you say is reasonable, really, for Labour to be demanding? I mean, you are a man of many years. You get what I mean? Looking at things now, how much would you say would be considerably, acceptable as Nigeria's new minimum wage?
I don't have access to all the parameters that Labour considered before coming to that figure. And like I told you earlier, we're not going to be sitting down here and be conjuring figures. I will simply say they should come up with a living wage, okay, or near living wage. But while Labour is doing that, people should also go and begin to tinker with the cost of governance. Anyhow they will do it, so that people can feel, oh, they are sensitive to our demands and they are conscious of what we are going through. You understand? We must be on the same page. We cannot afford to be, oh, we against them. That has to be cancelled. I'm not saying they should pay senators what they will pay you, for instance, but I'm saying there should be connectivity, and then there should be relativity as well. I mean, there's no reason why somebody could be giving a $160,000 car in an economy where a professor earns less than 1 million naira. Excuse me, it's not tenable, it's not acceptable. We've been saying these things over the years. Government after government, they've been ignoring. Maybe we make it a day with this government and insist. It's a pity I'm neither a unionist or a civil servant. But I give it to those who are there. They know what they are doing. And I will implore them not to sell out. Because if they do, posterity will not forgive them. Those who came before them and did that, their names have been erased. We don't talk about them again. When you hear people like Good Luck, Asas Monu, even Oshomole, things were still working well for Labour there. But from after Oshomole, the story changed. So they need to go back. I can feel their pain. I can feel their pulse, and say, okay, government cannot pay realistically now. But what will be the living wage? Maybe 80, maybe 100, but not 494.
494,000 naira.
Don't say half a million. You know, only 6,000 naira. That many remain.
Yes.
Only 6,000 naira. What are we talking about?
That's what Labour is insisting on. Because according to them, it takes a whole lot of money, you know, to survive in Nigeria today.
You know what they're doing? If they succeed at getting that, a loaf of bread will become 50,000 naira.
Of course.
You will be carrying large
amount of money for little things.
No
I get
value.
you.
Was it Italian lira that went down that bad? And then, of course, it happened in Zimbabwe too. But where did they find themselves? Tougher times. So let's not drive ourselves into tougher times at the altar of trying to ask for what we think is our right legally. We should be mindful of the wider consequences, because it will backfire and it will destroy both the, you know, now the same way that the middle class was knocked off. Today in Nigeria, you are either very poor or you are very rich. There is no middle. Nobody can shakara you again. The days of you know who I am don't pass.
All right. Just like our said, determining what a living wage is in Nigeria today is actually very difficult. Okay, even the 80,000 you're talking about, that's about just the price of just a bag of rice. Okay, so are you going to buy a bag of rice
but you
with your entire? That's what I'm saying. So it's difficult to even determine what a living wage, all right, will be. But obviously, Labour is saying 60,000 naira is nowhere near.
Yeah,
yes,
with the way things
nowhere
are.
near, you know, what they would accept, which is the reason why they insisted on the strike today. Whether or not this industrial action will continue is still something we'll have to wait out and see. But for today, Labour did a very good showing, all right, and got a lot of support.
Extremely effective.
Yeah, and got a lot of support, you know, from other unions, okay? So, and I know if it progresses into another day, maybe two other unions are going to jump into this, which is why the federal government needs to do something and do it quite fast, okay? Let's agree on this issue. Let's not forget the old minimum wage expired April 17th, right. All right? And Labour since then has given the government the deadline of May 31st for a new one. And here we are, this is June already. We don't have a minimum wage.
When I had the Attorney General, Minister of Justice, quoting passages of some laws, he had forgotten that there was a time lapse, and Labour had been consistently been giving them warnings and all of that. under the guise of negotiation, they have been pushing this thing. It started last year, not this year. We are in June, and the year is half gone. So what are we talking about? Meanwhile, the president said any moment from now is presenting next year's budget. So he has to know that he will incorporate the new
wage
yeah,
into that.
And of course, there must still be a supplementary budget to accommodate what they will be paying going forward.
Okay, well, it is what it is. For those who are traveling by air for now, that is a no-no, all right, because Labour has blocked the airport and no flight is actually taking off right now. So let's pray that the meeting they're having today, all right, it will result in something positive and we can call off this industrial action. If not, all right, I think every union can join in this strike. Only TCN should not join, all right, because as it is, the power issue is still a lot. So the little one they are giving us again is taken away, like until no, please.
Unfortunately,
please.
All the government offices, all their residences, they have generator, and some also have solar inverter, so they won't be affected. It is the same way the people that we carry the can. So we plead, electricity people, go back to work.
Electricity people, at least you can go
we
back
are behind
to work.
you. We are on your side.
Yes,
but please,
we know that you are for us. But
don't punish us.
Please go back. Go back to work and give us power. Anyways, that is it. So the NLC and the TUC, they are in the frontline news for today because of the industrial action over the new national minimum wage. And like I said, there's a meeting ongoing as we speak between the federal government and Labour in negotiations, first on how to call off this industrial action, and also let's see if finally both parties or the three parties involved, because it's a tripartite committee, would actually come to an agreement on what the way forward will be. Having said that, let's not forget that a lot of conglomerates are also still leaving Nigeria over the harsh economic realities. A lot of people are laying off their staff. Let's not forget Dana the other day, even the Central Bank of Nigeria, and it goes on and on across board. People are losing their jobs and being impoverished the more.
Bank that sacked 1,000 people. Recently.
Yeah, recently. Right, people are doing it
so
quietly.
many of their branches.
Which is also a pointer to another threat, something we should be worrying about.
Exactly.
I mean, a lot of the organized private sector breaking even. So how do you even want them to begin to process this issue of a new minimum wage? It's really something to ponder about.
People who are qualified, skilled people are being thrown out of jobs. What then do you think will be fortune of those who are not skilled, or the semi-skilled? Because these things percolate down, it flows down. And that's why government should be a lot more forthright and strategic in acting on all of these issues. There's no time to play a kashi or whatever. They should be serious about it and be frontal and let us know, and let it also show in their lifestyle. A governor or senate president having that long convoy is not acceptable. We are paying for the fuel, and these are cars with V8, V12, V engines that consume fuel. I mean, they should bring it down.
Okay.
I remember Tinubu as governor in 19 when he came as governor. 504 was his official car. 504. Somebody posted it today. But what do we have today? The big vehicles that even American government and their agencies are pushing out of use, going for low-cost fuel vehicles. We should begin to reflect that. It's not only the people that should go undertake economic salvage. No, everybody should be involved. And they should show us, they should lead by example.
Thank you so much, Are. Well, that's the size of the program for today. It's all about the NLC protests. Let's wait it out and see. Maybe by the end of today, the issues will be resolved. If not, we might just be teetering into day 2 of the industrial action. Many thanks to my studio guest this afternoon, Are Oladende Ario, joined us as a public affairs analyst. Thank you so much.